Kansas City, and a blowout, a 20-point victory here in St. Paul. We are underway. Tommies win the opening tip, and the Summit League season, just like that, is underway in 2025. It's going to take some getting used to saying that, 2025. Hill has it for the Tommies. 3 straight games over 20 points for Hill. Now Opitchka. Scalia gets a screen from Langbin. Scalia, long 2-pointer. Left just short, and the rebound hauled in by Lisa Thomas. Thomas starting her 11th ball game of the season for the Roos as they'll set up on their first possession. Thomas for Ilani Bennett. You're going to hear a lot of Bennett today. Imani and Ilani. That was Imani. Now back up top, they are twin sisters, and they do a lot of the scoring and rebounding for the Roos. There you see rebound. Bennett, putback is up and in off of the window. Imani Bennett, the leading scorer for the Roos, 14.5 points per game, makes good on the second chance opportunity. Kansas City scores first. These early season Summit League games are going to be critical for St. Thomas as Hill's shot is turned away. Good defense that time by Lisa Thomas. Hill was looking for a whistle, didn't get one. Thomas will hand it off, now gets it back. Opening minute here in St. Paul. Thomas for Ilani Bennett, couple left-handed dribbles there. Bannerman driving one-on-one against Langbin. Shot, no good, rebound. Scooped up by the Tommies' leading rebounder, Sammy Opitchka. Just under 6 rebounds per game. Opitchka swings it into the corner. Scalia 3, short. Battle for the board, tipped out of bounds. Last touch by the Tommies. It's Roos basketball. Kansas City picked to finish 8th in the preseason Summit League poll. And the Tommies clocked in 5th place in that preseason poll. But you look at the Summit League schedule for St. Thomas early on in 2025. It's not very accommodating. So they're going to want to make good on these early season opportunities. We've got a foul, offensive foul. Our first of the afternoon is against Kansas City. And obviously the first foul against the Roos. Ilani Bennett, the sophomore out of Lee's Summit, Missouri, called for the foul. As Tamia Ugas comes in for the first time, our first sub of the afternoon. This ball game tipping off at 1 o'clock here was originally scheduled for a 7 o'clock tip-off. That got bumped up. So we welcome you in on this cool afternoon, cold afternoon outside in St. Paul. Opitchka driving as the first bucket of the ball game for the Tommies. Sammy Opitchka just over 10 points per game. To go along, I mentioned the 6 rebounds. She knots it up at 2 apiece. 3 on the way. Bennett rattled in and out. Lamker tipped it out of bounds. It'll stay with Kansas City. Kansas City won for their first 5. Tommies won for their first 4. Slow shooting start for both clubs. Bannerman 3-pointer. Too strong. Hill to rebound. And Hill driving. Now Lamker. Langbin in good position. Doubled and had it poked away by Thomas. Kansas City had 31 steals their last time out. They get one there. Thomas, nice pass into the front court. Imani Bennett has all 4 Kansas City points. And the Roos lead the Tommies by 2, closing in on 3 minutes into the ball game. Defense creating offense that time for Kansas City. Scalia drives, pulls up. No good. Cold shooting start for the Tommies. Bannerman the rebound. Thomas into the front court, and that's picked off by Opitchka. Good defense by Opitchka into the front court. Her 16th steal of the season for Opitchka. Lamker directing traffic, now has Hill, and will set a screen. Hill driving, spinning, shot short, tipped out of bounds. Langbin, nope, last touch by Kansas City. So it'll be Tommy's ball. Ruth Sin is in her 20th season and closing in on 400 wins as the Tommy head coach. Sitting at 398, she sends in her first sub of the ball game. That's Alyssa Sand. And they are going to say that, I thought that was picked up by Langbin. They are going to say now, Roos basketball. So Kansas City coming off of that big win against, lopsided win, I should say, against Westminster. Imani Bennett, 22 points. Elena Contreras had 17 in that one as well. And the 21 rebounds for Ilani Bennett, career high, obviously. And for Kansas City, they had been on the wrong end of some lopsided games. Thomas lost her dribble. Lamker's there to collect. Tommy's just 2 points in almost 4 minutes of game clock as Hill loses it. Slow start offensively for the Tommies. Bennett into the front court. Now the Roos will slow it down. Gianna Jackson-Duritz in her 3rd season as Kansas City head coach. Floating pass down low, reverse layup, nicely done. It's Ugas, the senior out of St. Paul, playing in her hometown. Went to Roseville High School. Scores and puts the Roos up by 4. Sure, she has a nice following here, sitting on the purple bleachers on this Thursday afternoon. 10 seconds on the Tommy shot clock, down by 4. Tommies won for their first 6. Need a bucket. Hill three-pointer. Just what the doctor ordered for St. Thomas. They cut the Kansas City lead to 1. Jade Hill, three-pointer, 15.5 points per game on the season for Hill. The three-point shot's been a work in progress at 26%, but is having a good year shooting at 42%. It's a 1-point game. Thomas steps back and scores. It is Lisa Thomas, her first basket of the ball game. Thomas shooting 50% on the season from the floor. Hill squeezes through a double team. Shot no good. Sand got the offensive rebound and was fouled. So Sand to the free throw line. When we come back, 4:49 left in the first quarter. Kansas City 8, St. Thomas 5.
Wings, you're not just a customer, you're a literal owner, meaning profits are reinvested in you and your financial growth. You own your product. Now own your money.
Why come see us? Because we're the most unique story in college basketball. 20 wins. Rising rankings. Crazy crowds.
Student section bumping here at Shanneker Arena.
A culture. An atmosphere, an experience. And this is just the beginning.
Visit TommySports.com.
Tommy's trailing by 3. Will be at the free throw line when we come out of this timeout. There you see for Kansas City, they're looking for their first Summit League season opening win since all the way back in 2020. That was, let's see, a 76-65 win at Seattle back in January of 2020, right before stuff got a little weird. 8-5 your score. I was taking a look, coming off of that win against Westminster. I mentioned earlier that Kansas City was on a 6-game losing streak, and I'm sure the reason that lopsided win felt so good is among those 6 games, there was really only one close score. That was against Corpus Christi in Edinburgh, Texas. Other than that, at Sacramento State, blowout. Idaho State, same. Kansas in Lawrence, no shame there. At Tulsa, 89-61 final score there. The game against Corpus Christi, 5-point game. Before I mentioned the 71-54 loss, and bouncing back with that 103-49 victory at the Swinney Center in Kansas City. Sand at the free throw line for the Tommies. 2 free throws coming up. First trip to the line for either team this afternoon. Sand on the season has been a good free throw shooter for a post player. 87% coming into the ball game. First shot's good. Very impressive freshman, 6'3" out of Albany, Minnesota, averaging 5 a game. Comes in often that first substitution for Langben, but here she spells Lamker. So you've got Langben and Sand on the floor at the same time. That's something we didn't see a ton of in the non-conference portion of the schedule, but I think there's a lot of potential there. Sand goes 2 for 2. It's back to a 1-point ball game. Roos with a basketball. 11 players have started games this season for Kansas City as they get a 3-pointer. It's Imani Bennett. Bennett has 7 of Kansas City's 11 points. Great first quarter for Bennett, coming off of a big game against Westminster with those 22 points. and she is Kansas City's leading scorer. Scalia, three-pointer. First 3 points of the afternoon for Amber Scalia, averaging more than 13 a game. And for St. Thomas right now, the three-point shot is really keeping them in this game. They've gotten one from Hill, one from Scalia. Roos will try one of their own, and they knock it down. It's a three-pointer for Elena Contreras. Contreras, the junior, another Minnesota product. She went to Hopkins High School in the west suburbs. A 4-point Kansas City lead and a turnover. Scalia threw it right into the hands of UGass. Into the front court. Contreras drives. Shot no good. UGass tried to pull it away from Sand, and a jump ball called. The Roos have the arrow, so it'll be Kansas City basketball. Good effort play that time by UGass. Another look at that loose ball. Sand and UGass. We've got a timeout on the floor. 3:32 left in the first quarter. So good start for Kansas City. I mentioned the three-point shooting for St. Thomas, 2 for their first 3. That's kept them in the ball game, but a very fast start for the Roos here in their Summit League opener. 14 points on 6 of 11 from the floor, and Imani Bennett, those 7 points. Good for half of her season game average, which is 14.5 per game. Bennett on the season, 33% from the floor. But they look like a team that is coming off a blowout win. You know, they had lost 6 in a row. And sometimes when you roll over to the conference portion of your schedule, you get a new life. Just like you get when you flip the calendar to a new year. But this is a turnover. Sand with the steal. Hill into the front court. Has Scalia. Finds her, and Scalia scores. Nice pass from Hill, and Amber Scalia has 5 first quarter points. It's a 2-point game. Imani Bennett guarded by Faith Feuerbach. To her left hand, now to her right. Kicks in the corner. Driving, pulling up and scoring there is Alyssa Febres. Has started a game this season, but playing in her 13th game of the year off of the bench as Scalia is going to be fouled. 3 free throws coming up as Ilani Bennett a bit tardy closing out. Bennett's called for her second foul. And 3 free throws coming up for Amber Scalia. 3rd foul against the Roos in the first quarter. Joe Langben comes back in off of the bench, and Scalia will walk up to the free throw line for her 3 free throws, where she's been very good this season. Another look. Pretty easy call there. Not a close one. Sends Scalia to the free throw line for 3 shots. Can cut it to a 1-point game. First one's good for Scalia on the season. The junior out of Stillwater, 30 for 32 from the free throw line. That's 93%. And looks the part. Looks very confident from the free throw line. Looks pretty automatic that time. 8 points for Scalia in the first quarter. It's a 1-point game. Tommy's 4 of 10 from the floor. Kansas City 7 of 12. Both teams have made a couple three-pointers. Imani Bennett around a screen. Now we'll send it for UGass. Guarded by Langman. UGass fouled. First foul of the ball game against the Tommies, and it's going to go against Faith Feuerbach, the junior out of Sycamore, Illinois. Is called for her first. It sends UGass to the free throw line. Senior out of St. Paul, 6 points per game on the season. Has started 6 ball games this year, playing in her 15th. 77% from the free throw line for the post player. As UGass makes them both, has 4 points, and the Kansas City lead extended to 3. Opichka on the elbow. Wow, found a wide open Langben who scores. Opichka, the dime to Langben. First basket of the first quarter for Langben, makes it a 1-point game. Tommy's leading scorer is on the board. But Kansas City in this first quarter has just kept coming at the Tommies. They've been able to trim that lead, but have not been able to pull ahead. There's UGass scoring. Big first quarter for UGass. 6 points, that's what she averages per game. Langman finds Opitchka, now Scalia. Drives baseline, nice dish, Langman. But before the shot, they're gonna call a foul. Let's see, they announced count the basket, but I think they're gonna call a foul on the driving Scalia. Take another look. I think the foul was on UGass as Scalia when driving baseline. Officials will talk it over. And it looks like we're gonna have an officials review. Now they put the bucket up on the scoreboard and we've got an officials review. The foul is against UGass, as we suspected, with 1:41 left here in the first quarter. A 2-point game, and the officials will go over to the monitor to check this one out. So we'll see. It would be Langman at the free throw line with a chance to tie the ball game if they say it's on the shot. But if the foul's against UGass, that would be prior to the shot. So we got a lot to get sorted out here. There you see UGass get tangled up with Scalia. Tommies, I mentioned, swept Kansas City last year back in December of 23 on New Year's Eve. They played down in Kansas City, a 66-57 win for the Tommies. And then the second ball game between these two clubs last year was February 3rd, a 20-point Tommy win. Another look at the collision between Scalia and UGass. Don't get too many of these official reviews in the first quarter of these ball games, but the officials want to make sure they get it right. They were just double checking the game clock, so now we got the official story coming to the scorer's table downstairs. This broadcaster's official guess, don't hold me to it, is that it's 2017 and the foul is prior to the shot by Langman. Let's see. Both coaches getting an explanation. Ruth Sin, there you see. And they are going to say it's a common foul against UGass. The basket counts, so it's 20-19. Langman's got 4 as we get this all straightened out. And it'll be Tommies inbound. So Tommies will have possession, the basket counts, and the Tommies will have a chance to take a lead. Interesting sequence. Hill finds Scalia, but the Tommies have a chance to take the lead here. Now Hill, driving, dishing, couldn't find Sand, and it's Kansas City basketball. Kansas City 61% shooting here in the first quarter. St. Thomas not bad on their own rate, 50%. But if you're Kansas City and you shoot higher than 60%, you'd like to take a lead to the second quarter into that first quarter break. Thomas almost lost her footing, did well to keep her dribble. Now Contreras, long 2-pointer, knocked it down. Elena Contreras has 5 first quarter points. The Roos lead is 3. And another turnover for St. Thomas. Those turnovers are piling up. 5 now here in the first quarter. Contreras has gotten it going here in the later stages of this first quarter. She'll try again, draw the foul against Hill, and go to the free throw line. First foul against Hill, second foul against the Tommies will send Contreras to the free throw line, where she, to say the least, like Scalia for the Tommies this season, has been very good, 91%. Contreras, 13.5 points per game, makes her first. has struggled shooting the long ball this season, 21% shooting the three, but has been, like I said, basically automatic from the free throw line. 7 first quarter points for Contreras and a 5-point Kansas City lead. Scalia for Lampker. Now Scalia. Tommies have had. Now Opitchka driving baseline. That shot's off, and Thomas hauls in the rebound. 2-second differential between the shot and game clock. There you see it there. 24 on the game clock, now 20 on the shot clock. And the Roos are in no hurry here, leading by 5. They can hold for what amounts to the last first quarter shot. Contreras with 3 seconds. Oh, she knocks another one down. Contreras is really having a big first quarter, 9 points. Scalia's heave is no good. And the Roos from Kansas City holding on to a 26-19 lead on the road here in St. Paul. Interesting start to the Summit League season. Let's break. Second quarter is coming up next.
Big name opponents,
as the Iowa State Cyclones are here in St. Paul.
fantastic finishes,
For three, Jade Hill gets it to go. Tommies take it.
a landmark streak,
5 wins in a row for the Tommies, their longest in the D1 era.
Shenneker Arena saw it all last season, and Tommy women's basketball is at it again this season. Get your tickets today at TommySports.com.
The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
Welcome you back into St. Paul and Shenneker Arena. Kansas City 26, St. Thomas 19. We've played 10 minutes. There you see for the Tommies, a slow start. They did shoot well in the first quarter, but took them 2 minutes and 5 seconds of game clock to get on the board this afternoon. And that was their longest since the ball game back on the 14th of November at Iowa State down there in Ames. So a bit of a slow start for the Tommies, but as I mentioned, they shot well. 46% from the floor, 2 for 3 shooting the three, but Kansas City, Contreras 9 points, Imani Bennett had 7, and the Roos shot 66% from the floor in that first quarter. So it was just great offensive play from Kansas City in that first 10 minutes. And for the Tommies, the turnovers, granted Kansas City had 4 of them as well, but for the Tommies, 5 turnovers, probably a little bit higher than Ruth Sin would have liked. Kansas City, though, had 31 steals against Westminster their last time out. Scalia open jumper. Rebound pulled in by Imani Bennett. Sometimes you will see, though, these teams as they come out, there is a different intensity in conference play, and you get a little bit of time off now. The Tommies did play in between Christmas and New Year. As a turnover for the Roos, as great defense by the Tommies. Sand hung in there and stared down Bannerman, forced the travel, and the Tommies get the ball back. But I can't say either team was really, rusty or slow starting there. Tommies did take, like we saw in that graphic, 2 minutes to get on the board, but both teams have just shot very well. Kansas City has just executed slightly better to this point. Lampker had her shot blocked and ripped away by Harrell. Zaire Harrell in for the first time, the junior out of St. Louis. Has now played in all 16 games for the Roos this season as Harrell and has started 9 of them. Open three-pointer, Imani Bennett knocks it down. Imani Bennett now leads all scorers, and the lead for Kansas City is 10. Bennett 2 of 3 shooting from downtown. Opichka drives, draws a crowd, tries the left hand, air ball, and Bannerman is there for the Roos. Well, if you're Deanna Jackson-Durrett in your third season as the head coach for Kansas City, you couldn't have asked for a better start to your Summit League season opener. Driving to the basket and scoring is Imani Bennett, who has a dozen. And that is the lead for Kansas City, 31-19. And these second quarters have been a work in progress this season for the Tommies. Opichka finds a cutting Sand, who lost it and had it stolen away by Harrell. Bannerman in the front court, shot off, and a foul is going to be called as Thomas came crashing in, trying to collect that rebound, but the senior out of Kansas City is called for her first foul. The first against the Roos in the second quarter. Take another look. Tough defense, and then, yeah, Thomas a little too strong. Faith Fierbach boxing out and draws the foul. It's a 12-point lead for the Roos, and we will step aside. 7:38 left in the second quarter.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
There you see Kansas City huddled up around Deanna Jackson-Durrett, and they set a program record their last time out against Westminster. Those 31 steals, that is just an absurd number. Yeah, I had to read it 3 times to make sure I was reading it correctly. That was the number, 31 steals, and that bested the previous record by more than 10, all the way back in 1998, which is, way back when. So defensively, Kansas City has really found something. They've already got 5 steals here this afternoon against the Tommies, and right now they're on an 11-0 run. Remember the foul sequence with Langben where that bucket counted, that made it a 1-point game. So since then, an 11-0 run for Kansas City. And a 5-0 run to start the second quarter. Tommies need some buckets and need some stops. And this is who you lean on if you're the Tommies. Jade Hill, those veteran leaders in the corner. 3, that was too strong for Riley Wright, and it's Kansas City basketball. So Ruth Sin getting into her bench. Riley Wright having a chance here, playing in her 6th game of the season. Game's leading scorer, Bennett, pulls up her dribble. Now Thomas with 10 seconds to work with for Kansas City. Contreras goes behind the back. Jumper too strong, and it went in, but it went off of the top of the backboard first. How often do you see that? Normally, if it goes rattling around up there, it doesn't fall through the cylinder. That time, it did a little trickery, but it's out of bounds, so Tommy basketball. 12-point lead for Kansas City as they'll go to work defensively. Phoebe Frenzel's in for the first time, so Rusin is extending that bench a little bit. Here, loose ball. Frenzel tipped it right to Thomas. Thomas carefully into the front court. Now she will pump the brakes and set up the half-court offense for Kansas City, leading by 12. Imani Bennett Now Harrell, who's played some very good defense off of that bench for Kansas City. Contreras drives and traveled. Got a good look, but traveled to do it. So Tommy basketball. And Diaz will come in for the first time for Kansas City. Out of Porto Feliz, Brazil. Playing in her 16th game, and Diaz has started 4 games. Loose ball. Hill collects. Tommy's still a little bit disjointed here in the second quarter. Still looking for that first point of the second frame. Floating pass. Langvin can't pull it in. And they're going to say St. Thomas ball. But boy, the players didn't think so. Neither did the Kansas City bench. Neither did I initially, but the officials will get together and talk it over. And they will change that decision. It's Ruse basketball. And the danger, if you're St. Thomas, you've got a big game against the preseason number 3 in your conference on Saturday, North Dakota State. At home, on TV, Kansas City has struggled this season. You want to make sure you weren't looking past them, and if you were, you're not anymore. Loose ball in the corner. It'll stay with Kansas City. Good defense, defense by Langvin, but the ball will stay with Kansas City. 20 seconds on their shot clock. And they want 15 on the shot clock, so they'll have to make that correction. The Tommies in this second quarter 0 for 4 and still scoreless. Kansas City, though, has only scored 5 points. So, wow, we've only had 5 points scored in 4.5 minutes of basketball here in the second quarter. St. Thomas really, when you look at it that way, fortunate to only be down 12. Riley Wright. Tommy's desperately looking for a good shot here as Hill has her shot blocked, but she got bumped. So the foul against Diaz will send Hill to the free throw line. Second foul against the Roos in the second quarter. And another look. And Hill almost looked relieved to be getting that call and going to the free throw line. She was definitely looking for that contact. So Hill in her 83% free throw shooting percentage goes to the line. Hill 3 straight games over 20 points. And had 20 in that last win against Eastern Michigan. Hill has 5, and it's a 10-point game. But again, these first 5 minutes of the second quarter, we've only had 7 collective points. 5 for Kansas City, and now the 2 from the free throw line for St. Thomas. Contreras, wide open 3, knocked it down. Contreras is having a big game, a dozen first half points for Contreras in this return to her home state. And the Kansas City lead is their biggest of the afternoon. It's 13. Scalia 3. Tommies were looking for an answer there and can't find it. Kansas City ball. Tommies haven't led in this ball game, and this lead, as I mentioned, for Kansas City is their biggest of the afternoon. Bennett has a dozen. Contreras the same. Here's Contreras again. Yeah, she is really looking to score right now. 14 points for Elena Contreras and a 15-point Kansas City lead. Right now, the Tommies don't have an answer for Contreras. Langvin jumper off. Rebound, Harrell. Harrell has given Deanna Jackson-Durrett good minutes off of that bench. And an offensive foul. It's going to be Tommy's basketball. And it's going to go against Zaire Harrell. Third foul against Kansas City in the second quarter. First against Harrell. Fierbach and Opichka back in for the Tommies. Staring down a 15-point deficit on their home court in their conference opener. That'll get your attention. Hill driving. Stops and has her shot blocked. Bannerman. Bannerman hasn't scored, but has played some defense. Who has done a lot of scoring is Contreras, but she finds Bannerman three-pointer off of the front iron, and Opichka has the board, but lost it. Bannerman steals in the backcourt. Harrell fouled. Kansas City's going to the free throw line. The first foul against the senior Opichka. And the first against St. Thomas in the second quarter. Another look. And a chance to build on this big lead. Harrell goes to the free throw line, 63% on the season from the stripe. Everything's working right now, though, for Kansas City. And Harrell goes 1 for 2. Langman scoops up the rebound. 16-point lead for Kansas City. Tommy's 0 for 7 here in the second quarter. Scalia drives baseline. Strong take and a foul. The whistle was a little tardy, but it came in, and it's the fourth foul against Kansas City in the second quarter, and the first against Kelby Bannerman. Means the Tommies will go to the free throw line, take another look. Nice strong drive from Scalia, and the foul by Bannerman as Scalia came back down. Scalia to the free throw line, where she's now 3 for 4. Tommy's trailing by 16. Don't want to leave too many of these out there with a free throw shooter as good as Scalia, 93% on the season at the line. She goes 1 for 2. Scalia, 9 first half points. Ruse by 15 with the rock. Thomas for Bannerman, now away from the basketball as Scalia hits the floor. It's going to be a foul against St. Thomas and against Scalia. Junior called for her first foul. Second against the Tommies in the second quarter. So it'll be Kansas City basketball. Thomas will trigger it in, holding on to a 15-point lead. Bennett is open for 3. Oh, lining shot is no good. Imani Bennett did not get off her best shot there. She's got a good looking shot. That one came out flat. 2:42 to go in the first half. 37-22 the score. Hill 1 for 5 on the afternoon. Opichka tried to find a cutting Scalia. It wasn't there. It was stolen away by Harrell. The 8th steal for Kansas City. The 10th turnover for St. Thomas in the first half. Contreras picked up by Langben. Tried to find and does find Bannerman, who can't finish it off. Nice pass by Contreras, but Bannerman's struggles continue. She's now 0 for 6. Hill lost it, got it back. 2 minutes to go in the first half. That Kansas City bench, they're on fire right now. Really energized. Scalia driving, shooting, and scoring. Boy, the Kansas City bench wanted an offensive foul on Scalia. They don't get it. 11 first half points for Scalia. That's best for St. Thomas. Contreras, though, with the basketball here, leads all scorers with her 14. And a foul's going to go against Kansas City, the second against Harrell, as she got caught setting a screen. And an important last 92 seconds here for St. Thomas. You've trailed the entire ball game. You've been tied once. But now you look up, you're down 13. You've trailed by as many as 16. If you could get this into the locker room in single digits, I think you'd feel pretty good. Especially shooting 1 for 8 in the second quarter. Langman, had it stolen away. Good defense by the Roos. Harrell for Contreras. Got by the defender. Layup no good as Frenzel's there to collect the loose ball. Frenzel the rebound. Lost her dribble. 1 minute left in the first half. Scalia for Frenzel. Now Langvin. It's poked out of bounds. It'll be Tommy's basketball. Good defense by Imani Bennett. Not often that you see a 5'11" sophomore guard hanging in there against a scorer like Joe Langvin with her complement of post moves, but Bennett did well that time. .18 seconds on the shot clock for the Tommies. Hill drives, kicks, one extra pass. Opichka. No good in the rebound. Kicked out of bounds. Oh, Kansas City had 3 blue jerseys around that rebound, and it was booted out of bounds. I think Imani Bennett touched it last, but that is a costly mistake off of the Opichka miss. So a second chance for St. Thomas. Trailing by 13. Scalia three-pointer. Rebound Harrell. Harrell has brought a real toughness off of that bench. 3 steals, and a block, and 3 rebounds. 5-second difference, game and shot clock. And if you're Deanna Jackson-Durrett, you'd take this score with 12 seconds left in the first half. Offensive foul is gonna go against Amode. Our first look at the junior out of London. He's actually started a game earlier this season, but it's a turnover for Kansas City and a chance for St. Thomas to cut into this lead. 8 seconds to go in the first half. Hill steps back. 3. No good, and that's the final buzzer on the first half. Tommy's had a chance there to gather up a little bit of momentum heading into the locker room with the Hill three-pointer. They leave it out there. The Tommies shoot 1 for 11 in the second quarter, and they trail Kansas City 37-24. It's the half in St. Paul. Let's break.
I think we're at the point now where you start talking about the only thing you want to talk about, and that's win a championship.
Back for Gay, he'll shoot and score! Kick save Seibel, a beauty!
Big stages.
They score!
Big momentum.
Goal! Lucas Wallen!
Tommy Men's Hockey is back for more. Visit TommySports.com.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
3,000 student athletes from 9 institutions, competing in 19 sports for national prominence, striving for excellence in academics and athletics, seeking to become champions. Nearly 100,000 students and more than 800,000 alumni celebrate Summit League student athletes and their rise to reach the summit. The Summit League, where tomorrow's leaders strive to reach the summit today.
Imagine a university that's just right. One that offers an education to expand your mind. In classrooms small enough that professors know your name. Meet people you've always wanted to know. And travel places you never knew you'd go. With all the opportunities that Twin Cities offer, on a beautiful campus with a neighborhood vibe. At the University of St. Thomas, you really can have the best of all worlds.
Wings, you're not just a customer, you're a literal owner, meaning profits are reinvested in you and your financial growth. You own your product. Now own your money.
At Supply Chain Solutions, our employees are our true value.
In the heart of the ever-changing supply chain industry, we know it's our team that propels us forward.
As a proud partner of Tommy Athletics, we're excited to welcome St. Thomas students into our family.
At Supply Chain Solutions, we're more than just colleagues.
Working together and celebrating together is our recipe for excellence.
Join our team and discover a rewarding journey together.
Why come see us? Because we're the most unique story in college basketball. 20 wins, rising rankings, crazy crowds,
Student section bumping here at Shenneker Arena.
a culture, an atmosphere, an experience. And this is just the beginning.
Visit TommySports.com.
"20 minutes down, 20 to go in St. Paul. It's the Summit League opener between the Tommies and the Roos from Kansas City. Matt Nelson back with you here at Shenneker Arena, and a look at the first half summary. Not a pretty picture if you're a Tommy fan. The Roos come out and shoot 53% from the floor. St. Thomas just under 30%. Shooting the three-point shot, the Roos 44%. 20 points better than St. Thomas at 25%. Both teams have shot well from the free throw line. Kansas City out-rebounded St. Thomas 18 to 12. 11 turnovers for St. Thomas, 9 for Kansas City. Harrell off of the bench with the 4 rebounds. Contreras, 14 points. For St. Thomas, really, Scalia in her 11 points. 11 of the Tommies' 24 points. It's almost half of their production, but the shooting woes. Opitchka 1 for 4. Langban, pretty efficient as usual, 2 for 3. Jade Hill was 1 for 6. But the Tommies shot just 1 for 11 in the second quarter, only scored the 5 points. The good news was Kansas City, if you're a Tommy fan, Kansas City with just 11 second quarter points on 36% shooting. And it kind of came out of nowhere because both teams in the first quarter were very good offensively. The Roos had 26 points, St. Thomas 19, 46% shooting for St. Thomas, 66% for the Roos. So if you're Kansas City, more Contreras and Bennett. They've got 26 of Kansas City's 37 points. It's going to be an interesting second half. The Tommies at home this season have been very good, and a lot of those wins have come by way of the comeback. That's what they'll need if they want to open up their Summit League season with a victory, a comeback win. We're winding down the halftime intermission here, and we will break. When we come back, it'll be second half action from St. Paul.
The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. there for what matters.
History. It's where we've been. It's what we've made. "120 years of varsity athletics." "517 team conference titles." 68 individual national champions. 9 different sports with team national titles.
The celebration was on as St. Thomas wins the title.
1 proud past.
1 bright future. 21 varsity sports. 10 competitive venues. 4 different conferences. D3 to D1. The numbers have changed. The mission, the same. Let's make history together. Join the University of St. Thomas today.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
Big name opponents.
As the Iowa State Cyclones are here in St. Paul.
Fantastic finishes.
For 3, Jade Hill gets it to go. Tommy's take it.
A landmark streak.
5 wins in a row for the Tommies, their longest in the D1 era.
Shenneker Arena saw it all last season, and Tommy women's basketball is at it again this season. Get your tickets today at TommySports.com.
3, 2, 1, go.
This is Scout Mason. Alongside of me is Sophie Camilli. Division I Sports.
Ready, replay, effect, rolling.
Division I Opportunity. The lob to Parker Bjorklund. My goodness.
St. Thomas built. Student sustained.
There's never been a better time to be a Tommy. Tap into your potential with Tommy Athletic Productions.
The Tommies are riding a 4-game winning streak against Kansas City, but the first half was all ruse, 37-24. Your halftime scores. We welcome you back into St. Paul and Shenneker Arena. Matt Nelson, so happy to be with you and hope that you had a great holiday season. look at some of the highlights from the first half. Sammy Opichka, team's leading shot blocker and rebounder, making good. Jade Hill, that was a big three-pointer. Had a chance for another one in the closing moments of the first half that didn't go her way, but there you see her finding Joe Langbin. But Kansas City's offense was the story. Contreras leading all scorers with her 14 points, and she did it inside and outside of the arc. Playing back in her home state. Saw a lot of Imani Bennett as well, coming off of her 22-point performance last time out. Scalia, three-pointer, she led all Tommy scorers, had almost half of the Tommy's offensive production. And as I mentioned, Contreras has kind of been getting it done from all over the floor. And the Tommies have really relied on Scalia. The 13-point deficit at home here in Shenandoah Arena is their largest that the Tommies have faced down this season. Thought for some reason they had to be close to that in the Chicago game, but that is their largest deficit at home this season. And we mentioned about 1 for 11 shooting in that second quarter, which has been a work in progress for Rusyn's club. That second quarter, if there's been a Achilles heel for this team, it's been that second 10 minutes all season long. You see there, Kansas City, the first game in Summit League play this season. It's the Summit League opener, and it's a busy day on the women's side in basketball, and a real good one on the schedule as well. Running down for you what else is going on in the Summit League openers. In Omaha, they are hosting North Dakota. Denver is at home taking on South Dakota. But how about this one in Tulsa? Oral Roberts hosting South Dakota State. A 7 o'clock tip-off for you in that one down in Tulsa. And that would be your preseason number 1 versus preseason number 2. So that should be a good one and give us a good feel for the top part of this Summit League. But right now, if you're St. Thomas, the work at hand is a big come from behind, a big hill to climb. If you want to get back into this ball game, you're just going to have to chunk away at it. It's a 37-24 lead for the Roos. Kansas City led by as many as 16 in that first half, and the Tommies never led. So it's not an overstatement to say that Kansas City was in total control of the first half. Deanna Jackson-Durrett, third season head coach for the Roos. St. Louis native, played her college basketball in Oklahoma for the Sooners there, and was a first-round pick in the WNBA draft back in 2005, so 20 years ago. And she has to have liked what she saw from her team in that first half. Contreras leads all scorers with 14 and goes back to work here. Open jumper, short, and rebound tipped out to Scalia. Scalia, cross-court pass right on the money. Opichka, 3, got it. Opichka has 5, but what about that pass from Scalia? Hauled back and just fired with that right arm. And it was right between the numbers. Great pass, and often a great pass can result in a shot make. Bennett got tangled up with Lamker, kicked outside, jumper way off for Bannerman. We talked about Bannerman's first half struggles. She's now 0 for 7 in the game, and that one wasn't her best look. Langbin going to work. Finds Lamker, nice. Lamker off of the window. Langbin finds Lamker. Lamker averages just under 5 a game and is on the board. A nice little run here to open the third quarter for St. Thomas. That lead is 8 for the Roos with the basketball. Hannerman no good. Rebound Scalia. Here's just going to keep letting that senior number 11 let it fly. Opichka off of the window, and she's injured. Scalia found Opichka, who scored, but the bigger story right here for St. Thomas is the condition of Opichka, their senior. Opichka scored, cut the lead to 6, but she is injured under the basket and in some distress. Another look, the great pass from Scalia. And you saw Opichka came down awkwardly on that right foot, right ankle. And she's being tended to by the medical staff here. With 8:18 left here in the third quarter. A 7-0 run to open things up for St. Thomas here in the third quarter. But as I mentioned, bigger story not for this game, but for the rest of the season is Opichka's health. And you can hear that ovation as Opichka's up. She's being helped off of the floor. Let's take a break with the players. 37-31 Kansas City.
Wings, you're not just a customer, you're a literal owner, meaning profits are reinvested in you and your financial growth. You own your product. Now own your money.
Twin Cities Orthopedics is ready to go with more doctors, specialty services, and convenient urgent care locations. Ready, set, TCO.
Welcome you back into Schoenecker Arena in St. Paul, Kansas City. What was a 13-point lead at the half has been trimmed to a 6-point lead, courtesy of a 7-0 run for the Tommies here in the third quarter. Matt Nelson back with you. Sammy Opichka was helped off of the court back into the Tommy locker room. So obviously sending best wishes down there, but she was immediately tended to. Came down very awkwardly on that right foot, ankle. So what that means for Ruth Sin and her Tommies is you're probably going to see more Faith Feuerbach, more Jordan Lamker, more Phoebe Frenzels, more minutes for them as Opichka had a great start to this second half. And for the Tommies, if she's unavailable for any amount of extended amount of time in the Summit League play, that would be a huge blow. The senior out of Green Bay has been a big-time contributor. Langbin collects the rebound off of the UGAS miss. St. Thomas right now a 7-0 run. Langbin tried to find Scalia. Nobody home. Lamker was there, though, to keep it alive. Now Hill. Pick and roll. Tried to get it to Langbin, and UGAS was able to get a hand on it. Tips it into the hands of Thomas. Kansas City looking for their first score here in the second half. 2.5 minutes in to this third quarter. Contreras, UGAS, squares up and scores. Tamira UGAS has 8 points, and that was a nifty little bucket there. She's got some game. She faced up on Langbin and knocked down the jumper. 8-point game. Scalia to the basket, no good. Rebound, Imani Bennett. So the Roos stem that 7-0 Tommy run, get a basket and a stop. Thomas lost it, tried to pick and roll to find UGAS, who still wants the ball. Won't get it. Instead, Imani Bennett three-pointer off of the back iron. Ugas offensive rebound. Second chance here for the Roos. Speaking of good minutes off of the bench, Ugas has given Jackson Durrett some of those today. Driving Bennett off of the window. Imani Bennett has 14 points. And the Kansas City lead is back to double digits. It's a 41-31 advantage. Hill steps back. Three, too strong. Rebound, Harrell. There's some physical players on this bench today for the Roos who have given them great minutes. One of them's right here, Ugas, who scores. Tamia Ugas has 10 points. The lead is 12, and the Tommies take a timeout. And we'll step aside with the Tommies. 43-31 the score.
Big name opponents.
As the Iowa State Cyclones are here in St. Paul.
Fantastic finishes.
For three, Jade Hill gets it to go. Tommies take it.
A landmark streak.
5 wins in a row for the Tommies, their longest in the D1 era.
Shenneker Arena saw it all last season, and Tommy women's basketball is at it again this season. Get your tickets today at TommySports.com.
Kansas City by 12 as we welcome you back in, and the Roos have been getting it done on the offensive glass. Just over 15 per game, and there you see against Westminster, which was just a box score stuffing day for Kansas City. They won 103-49. They had 23 in that game. So they've been good on the glass, and they've out-rebounded the Tommies here today by a margin of 21-16. Tommy's playing without Sammy Opichka, who was helped off of the floor back to the locker room and trailed by 12. They trailed by 13 at the half. Again, we welcome you back in. In this third quarter, the Tommies 3 for 5, Kansas City 3 for 8. It'll be Tommy basketball with 5:54 to go. 5:47, pardon me, here in the third quarter. Feuerbach for Langbin. Now Frenzel goes to her left hand. Good looks have been hard to come by today for the Tommies as Harrell swats that one out of bounds. Tommies were trying to get it to Riley Wright. 12 seconds on the shot clock. It'll be Tommy's ball. Now Hill has it. 5 seconds on the Tommy shot clock. Hill will give it a go. Short rebound, Thomas. She'll push the pace into the front court. Bennett now backpedals and hands it back off to Thomas, the senior. Ugas against Langman. Got by her. Layup, no good. Got past Langman. Got a good quality look, but Ugas couldn't finish it off. Now Hill in transition into the corner. Feuerbach passed on an open three. So did Frenzel, for that matter. 4:50 to go in the third quarter. Hill finds Riley Wright. Wright, she passed on an open three-pointer. Roos are kind of daring St. Thomas to shoot the three right now. Instead, Feuerbach drives and scores. First score of the afternoon for Feuerbach. Cuts the Kansas City lead to 10. Tommy's 3 for 9 shooting the three. Kansas City 4 for 11 as Langman's going to get called for a foul. Came out and bumped Contreras. And that's her first. And she knew it, just kind of gave the official a nod. And Contreras was ready for it too. Jade Hill is going to go to the bench for a breather. She doesn't get many of those. Racks up a lot of minutes. But she's going to take one here with the Tommies down by 10. And if you're Kansas City, you're trying to capitalize on that. UGass through a double team, scored, and a foul. Big bucket, UGass. And a trip to the free throw line coming up. Feuerbach called for the foul. Her second foul, the second against the Tommies. UGass has a dozen. And we'll go to the line, shooting 77%. Another look. Tommies had this one covered up pretty well, but UGass got slippery, got to the basket. And a three-point play for UGass, who has 13. So now you've got Contreras at 14 points, Bennett at 14, and UGass has 13 for Kansas City. Scalia back up top. Kicked. Scalia gets it back. Now finds Feuerbach. Driving is Riley Wright. Spinning. Lots of contact. She'll try the left hand. Score, and a foul. Big bucket for Riley Wright. And the first foul against Kansas City here in the third quarter gives the Tommies a chance at a three-point play. The third foul against Harrell. You see it there. And Riley Wright to the stripe. And if you're Ruth Sin, you're going to need some buckets from Feuerbachs, Wrights, Lamkers of the world. Three-point play for the Tommies as Wright knocks it down. And after the free throw, which counts, a foul against Feuerbach, her third foul. Came out in the wash before the Roos could even inbound the basketball. Floating pass down low, Thomas for UGass. It rattled in and out. Harrell got it back. Makes a move, kicks outside. Bennett, second chance now, Contreras. There you see the offensive rebounding. We had that graphic for you earlier in the broadcast as Contreras spins and knocks one in off of the window. 16 points for Contreras, leads all scorers. It's a 12-point lead. Tommies need a basket. Scalia fouled. Second foul against Kansas City in the third quarter. And the first against Imani Bennett. Jade Hill cooling her heels on the bench. I wonder what the story is there. Feuerbach for Scalia. The Tommies are going to need a big effort from number 21 here. And Scalia draws another foul. So Amber Scalia doing her best to draw a whole lot of contact. The second foul against Lisa Thomas. But without Opichka and right now Hill on the bench for St. Thomas, it's pretty much the Amber Scalia show from a scoring perspective, along with Langbin out there. But Langbin isn't having her biggest afternoon, just 2 for 3 with 4 points. Riley Wright, and she traveled. So Kansas City's defense stands up, and they'll get the ball back, leading by 12. And you could hear Amber Scalia urging her teammates on to get a stop. So often you think of buckets when you're trailing, but it's really stops that can propel a comeback. Contreras, Harrell, now Thomas looking for UGass. Cross-court pass, somehow got it to Bennett. Pass down low, UGass doubled, spins, header shot blocked, and a jump ball called. It'll be Tommy's ball. They've got the arrow. But right now, Kansas City, they are really feeding that post player UGass, trying to get her touches down low, where she has been very good. 5 of 8 from the floor. and hasn't missed from the free throw line. That's tough to deal with. Frenzel for Scalia. Pump fake. Drives on Thomas. Draws the foul and will go to the free throw line. Good possession there for the Tommies. Good work, Scalia against Thomas. The third foul against Thomas, the senior, will force Deanna Jackson-Durrett's hand. And Diaz will come in for Thomas. So Amber Scalia to the line, leading all Tommy scores, 4 of 5 from the line on the afternoon. First shot's good. Now a dozen for Scalia. Scalia led all Tommy scores in that 81-65 win at Eastern Michigan. She had 21 points. And perfect trip to the line for Scalia. She's got 13. And it is a 10-point Tommy deficit. Right now, Kansas City looking to build on their 10-point lead. And Jade Hill is back in for the Tommies. Pass down low, Ugas got a look at the basket and drew a foul. Layup's no good, but 2 free throws coming up for Ugas, who hit the floor hard and is slow to get up, but has a smile on her face as she makes her way to the free throw line. Take another look as, yeah, that play looked a lot like the play with Opichka, where Ugas just didn't have room to plant that left foot, but she's up and goes to the free throw line. 2 shots upcoming for Ugas, who has 14 points now, averages 6 per game on the season. And 15 points for Ugas. She now leads all game scores, and the lead is a dozen for Kansas City. If you're the Tommies, you got to get Langman going right here. Langman drives with the left hand and scores. Now 6 points for Langman, 10-point game. Langman, your leading scorer, just under 16 points per game, had 4 points before that basket. If you're going to come back and win this game, you're going to need some buckets from 34. Shot too strong, rebound, Frenzel tipped it to Jade Hill. Hill in transition, finds Scalia, 3, short, rebound Harrell. Just seems like whenever the Tommies have had a chance to really make a push, a run, their best run they had was cut short on the injury to Opichka, and we've got a foul against the Tommies. I think this is Langman with Ugas. It is. Trying to deny position for Ugas. There you see her on the elbow, trying to get low. Ooh. Call that one a close call. So Ugas to the free throw line. 5th foul against the Tommies means 2 free throws for Ugas. $16 points now for Ugas. 6 for 6 from the free throw line. 5 of 9 from the floor. Now 17 points for Ugas. The lead back to 12. That call wasn't the most popular on the Tommy bench, I can tell you that, listening upstairs here. And now an offensive foul against Riley Wright. Great defense by Kansas City and Zaire Harrell. Riley Wright called for her 2nd foul. I talked about Harrell in the first half. She just has the 1 point. But for Deanna Jackson-Durrett, she does everything else. That was great defense, getting the ball back for her team. Diaz drives. Contreras. Now Harrell with it. Diaz kicks, jumper, knocked down. It's Imani Bennett. Bennett now with 16 points, eclipsing her season average of 14.5 per game. The lead is 14. Negligible difference between shot and game clock here. Tommies need something good to happen before the fourth quarter here. Riley Wright, outside, Scalia, 3. Yes, big shot for Scalia, who has 16 points. It's an 11-point Kansas City lead, and they'll just dribble out the third quarter. Diaz lost track of time, but it is an 11-point Kansas City lead as we go to the fourth quarter in St. Paul.
3, 2, 1, go.
This is Scout Mason. Alongside of me is Sophie Camilli, Division I Sports.
Ready, replay, effect, rolling.
Division I opportunity. The lob to Parker Bjorklund. My goodness!
St. Thomas built. Student sustained.
There's never been a better time to be a Tommy. Tap into your potential with Tommy Athletic Productions.
The best healthcare is there in ways big and small. There when we most and least expect it. We may not see it, but we feel it. It lets us know we're not in this alone. Everyone deserves a healthcare partner who never quits. One who's there for what matters. United Healthcare. There for what matters.
.11-point Kansas City lead, 54-43. The score. Matt Nelson back with you here in St. Paul. And taking a look at some of the highlights from that third quarter. Boy, you wonder what might have been. Opitchka, a 3 and a layup before leaving the game with an injury. And then Ugas leading all scorers. Got that one, a 3-point play with the left hand. Contreras, who had a big first half, staying hot in the second half. And yeah, Riley Wright, the scoop layup there. The Tommies are going to rely on the Fearbachs, the Wrights, and the Frenzels of the world. And of course, Amber Scalia, the Summit League Peak Performer of the Week, and leading the Tommies with 16 points this afternoon, and that big 3-pointer in the waning moments of the third quarter. They're going to need a lot of Amber Scalia here in this fourth quarter. And if you're St. Thomas right now, Kansas City has played so well. You haven't led in this game. You have now worked your way with 10 minutes to go into where to make this comeback happen. You are really going to have to force the issue. They're really going to have to make something happen because Kansas City just really hasn't given them any oxygen in this game. Bennett for Bannerman, who has struggled offensively today. She dishes up top Contreras. Underway in the fourth quarter, the Summit League conference opener for both of these teams. Bennett 3-pointer. Battle for the board, tipped out of bounds. Langben got it last. That means it's Ruse basketball. She was battling Ilani Bennett, Imani's twin sister, for that board. And it'll be Kansas City basketball. Contreras, 2-pointer, short, rebound, Frenzel, got it to Scalia, and now she's injured. And it's going to be a foul against Diaz, the second foul for the sophomore out of Brazil, as the officials are checking on Amber Scalia. Couple of high fives, and she's waving off the bench saying, I'm good to go. Take another look. Didn't look like anything intentional there with Diaz. But they are going to bring Scalia over for a look and take a timeout on the floor with the Tommies trailing by 11. As the officials are going to go and for the second time this afternoon, take a look at it. Let's take a timeout with the players.
I think we're at the point now where you start talking about the only thing you want to talk about, and that's win a championship.
Back for Gay, he'll shoot and score! Kick save, Cybele, a beauty!
Big stages.
They score!
Big momentum.
Goal! Lucas Wallen!
Tommy Men's Hockey is back for more. Visit TommySports.com.
At Supply Chain Solutions, our employees are our true value.
In the heart of the ever-changing supply chain industry, we know it's our team that propels us forward.
As a proud partner of Tommy Athletics, we're excited to welcome St. Thomas students into our family.
At Supply Chain Solutions, we're more than just colleagues.
Working together and celebrating together is our recipe for excellence.
Join our team and discover a rewarding journey together.
Kansas City has led wire to wire as we welcome you back into St. Paul, 54-43, 11-point lead for the Kansas City Roos. I mentioned they had that win against Westminster. That snapped a 6-game losing streak, and they have played like a team who has gotten that weight off of their backs. The officials are at the scorer's table right now, reviewing that last sequence in between Diaz and Scalia. That saw Scalia momentarily injured. She did come over to the bench, say she was okay. It looked like maybe a hand caught her under the eye. But they are going to the scorer's table to review this. There you see Ruth Sin closing in on a milestone, just 2 wins away from 400 career wins as the head coach of the University of St. Thomas. You can see our officials calling in a phone a friend. Now, what do you think? Why don't you take another look at this? We couldn't come up with a sturdy answer. Let's see if you and I can agree on something here. They're taking a look at this as both teams huddle up. For St. Thomas, I mentioned a big one coming up on Saturday. We'll have that one for you against North Dakota State and the Bison here in St. Paul. Online as well as on Fox 9 Plus for you here in the Twin Cities. For Kansas City and the Roos, their next game is at home in Kansas City on Saturday against the other North Dakota. North Dakota and Kansas City on Saturday. State here in St. Paul and North Dakota down in Kansas City. You can see the official there pointing. Ruled a common foul, and you can see the explanation to Ruth in there. It looked at first blush pretty inadvertent. And the officials go to the monitor, come up with the same conclusion. So we'll get back to action. And if you're St. Thomas, I always think of this when you have a long stoppage in play like that. Who does that favor? I think it favors St. Thomas. I mean, it's like a free, long timeout where you get to get back together, get organized, figure out what you want this next 9 minutes and 26 seconds to look like. Jade Hill with just 5 points, coming off 3 straight games with 20. Scalia is the hot hand right now for the Tommies. She'll find Langbin. She's got 4 blue jerseys around her. 1 dribble, Hill, 3-pointer, open. Too strong, rebound tipped to the Roos. Ilani Bennett comes up with it. That rebounding advantage for Kansas City, now 26-20. And a foul, another one against Langbin. When she has come out and had to defend that pick and roll 3 times, outside of the arc, she's been called for a foul. Take another look at this one. As Imani Bennett put that shoulder down, found Langbin, and drew the foul. First against St. Thomas in the 4th quarter. Both teams with 1 foul here in this 4th quarter. Thomas back in, playing with her 3 fouls. Bennett drives, pulls up and scores. Imani Bennett has 18 points. That leads all scorers. Scalia steps back. Cross-court pass for Frenzel. Now Sand. Again, Sand, double team, Langbin, open, drives, kicks, Sand lost it, and Harrell ripped it away. Kansas City led by 13 at the half. That's their lead with 8:10 to go in the 4th quarter. Contreras, guarded by Hill. Now Ugas, big 3rd quarter, jumper. Right on the money. UGass has 19. A 15-point Kansas City lead. One shy of their biggest of the day. Hill for Langbin. Floater off. Rebound Thomas. And with 7:39 to go right now for St. Thomas, things are just not clicking offensively. Lamker in at the scorer's table. She'll come in at the next whistle. Scalia the rebound, trying to carry the Tommies back into this one. Crossover dribble, drive, and a foul. Imani Bennett caught a piece of Scalia as she drove baseline. Second foul against Bennett, and second against Kansas City in the fourth quarter. Another look at it there as Feuerbach and Lamker come in for the Tommies. Sand and Frenzel to the bench. Haven't seen a whole lot of Sand today, just 12 minutes. Scalia, pump fake, jumper, rattled in and out. Thomas the rebound. Lisa Thomas, 5'5", went up in between two white jerseys and came down with that rebound. Good work by the Kansas City point guard. Pass down low, UGass, who had lost Langman, but UGass isn't able to finish it off. Had a very clean look at the basket. Lamker, double teamed. Scalia, pump fake. Scalia down low. Skipped it right through the feet of Langbin, but it was last touched by Kansas City. I think UGass was holding her head like she said, yep, I caught a piece of that one. Check it again. Scalia's pass a little off of the mark, and actually it was Bennett. Scalia, open jumper. Tommies need it and got it. Scalia has 18. And the lead for Kansas City is 13, 58-45, the new score with 6:24 to go. Tommies playing without Opichka. Bennett, floater, finds its mark. Big answer by Imani Bennett, who leads all scorers with 20 points. Tommies get one from Scalia. The Roos get one from Imani Bennett. 15-point game. Lamker goes to work. Got a clean look and scored off of the window. Nice bucket for Jordan Lamker, right on her season average of 4 a game. Tommies are going to need some stops. Inside of 6 minutes to go in the game. Thomas drives, layup blocked by Sand. Hill has it. Tommy's got to score now. Hill driving, pull up, good, and a foul. Huge bucket for St. Thomas. They get the stop, the score, and the foul. Another look as Contreras fouls Hill. Hill with 7 points goes to the free throw line, a chance to make it a 10-point game. And Hill is now 3 for 3 from the free throw line. 8 points for Hill, 10-point game. You kind of get the feeling 5:26 to go on your home court. This is kind of the Tommies' last stand right here. They've trimmed this lead down to 10. Hill, Thomas lost her dribble, and they're going to say Tommy's ball. Oh, the Kansas City bench wanted a foul on Hill on that one. Thomas, pretty sure-handed handler of the basketball, lost it, lost the ball, lost her footing, and her teammates trying to remind her we're still up by 10 here. I don't think she was pleased with that meeting of senior point guards. Now Hill going to work on offense. Lamker steps back. 3 off. Rebound will roll out of bounds. Contreras backs off. And it's Kansas City basketball. Tommies are going to try a little full court, well, a little token pressure. Now they'll back it off and play half court defense. Kansas City 46% on the evening, 37% here in the fourth quarter. Thomas tried to get it to UGAS, tipped away by the Tommies, but it'll be Kansas City basketball. 13 seconds on the shot clock for the Roos. In what, make no mistake about it, would be a huge first game in this Summit League season for Kansas City to come into St. Paul and get a win. 3, short, rebound Feuerbach. Tommy's now getting some of those stops that we talked about. Scalia down low with it. Sand, one-on-one. Off of the window, short, rebound Thomas. Thomas with 5 assists and now 7 rebounds for the 5'5" senior point guard. Good player. 4:18 to go. Thomas fouled by Lampker. Kansas City is doing the little things right in this game as they draw the foul. First foul against Jordan Lampker, the senior out of Maple Grove. Second against St. Thomas here in the fourth quarter. Another look. And that is one thing that the Roos have done well. They have drawn contact. Their guards have gotten the post players for the Tommies in a lot of foul trouble. We'll keep it here with Kansas City leading 60-50. I mentioned the 13-point lead for Kansas City. That lead has been trimmed to 10, but as I talked about, if you're St. Thomas, their haste would make waste. Isn't that the old saying here? You don't have much time to really get some stops and some buckets going here, down by 10. You faced your biggest deficit of the season at home, where the Tommies have been very good this season. 4-game win streak against Kansas City on the line. The Tommies 4-2 all time against Kansas City in their 6 meetings. It is a new look Kansas City team. 6 transfers imported into this program. So the folks in Kansas City are going to have to keep the media guides close by. For the Tommies, I mentioned the early portion of their Summit League schedule is very unforgiving. Once they're done with Kansas City this afternoon, they've got North Dakota State at home, South Dakota on the road, Oral Roberts on the road as well. 3 out of their first 4, and right now, Kansas City obviously giving their money's worth as well. Preseason favorites, that top half of that Summit League out of the gate here for St. Thomas, and that's what makes that Opitchka injury really something to monitor here over the course of these next few weeks. UGAS has had a big afternoon, had it poked away by Hill. It rolls out of bounds, but last touch by the Tommies. So the Roos will keep it with 7 seconds left on the shot clock. Kansas City sends it in. Bennett to the rack, and she's fouled. Shot's no good, but Imani Bennett will go to the free throw line for 2 shots. The foul against Sand is the first against the freshman. And it'll send Bennett to the free throw line. Bennett on the afternoon, her first trip to the free throw line. 20 points, all coming from the floor. 9 of 15 from the floor, 2 for 8 shooting threes. But now Bennett to the free throw line for some big free throws coming up here. First one rattled in and out. Bennett, 84% free throw shooter. You'll take that one if you're the Tommies. Down 10 with that good of a free throw shooter at the line. Gets her second one. Leads all scorers with 21 points. It's an 11-point game. Tommy's down by 11. Scalia for Hill. Tried to find Sand, nobody home. Now Hill drives. Left-hander is short, but a foul against Thomas. 4th foul against the senior point guard for the Roos. Will put Hill on the free throw line. 4th foul against Kansas City. So Hill to the stripe. Take another look. It's a couple of times now that Hill's been able to. There's lots of contact going back and forth between those two. Remember the play a few minutes ago when the Kansas City had the basketball as Hill misses her first, and Thomas thought she was fouled. So 2 reliable free throw shooters, 1 for each team, missing free throws here. Down as we approach the nitty-gritty as Hill somehow manages to get the roll on her second free throw. 10-point game. As the Roos finally do get it in, not with much time to spare, to Thomas, who loses Hill and gets the ball into the front court. Tommy's tried to trap. It's handled well by Kansas City. Bennett cuts, scores, and draws the foul. Sands' second foul sends Bennett to the free throw line. 23 points for Bennett. And these were 2 big ones. There you see them. Bennett has played 37 minutes, so the entire game. She hasn't sat once. Neither has Contreras. And she makes good on the 3-point play. 24 points for Bennett. "13-point lead for Kansas City. Scalia baseline drive, lost it. Now she's trapped and did well to just throw it off of the feet of Zaire Harrell to keep possession with 14 seconds on the shot clock. Langbin in for the Tommies. There you see it again. Scalia was in big trouble and just did very well and got a shoulder shrug out of Harrell. Scalia with her team down by 13. Scalia with 18 points on the afternoon. There's another cross-court pass, a beauty. Lamker, 3, got it. 7 points for Lamker, and both times that Scalia has connected on that right-handed pass cross-court, the Tommies have converted it into points. That bullet pass. Kansas City down 10, and here comes an easy bucket. It's Bennett with 26. Both times that the Tommies have tried to trap, they've handled it easily and found Bennett for open layups as Langbin spins and scores. 8 points for Langbin, 10-point game. And a turnover in the backcourt. That could be huge. Hill to the rack. Shot no good. Rebound for the Roos. That was almost a disaster. Tommies almost got 2 quick buckets, and now a foul in the backcourt against Lamker. Second foul against Lamker. That would have been huge if the Tommies could have scored, got that steal in the backcourt, and cut it to 8. Then you would have been on to something. Instead, the foul, which is the 5th against St. Thomas, so Contreras can take a long walk over to the free throw line to shoot 2. 2:25 left. Tommy's running out of game clock here. First shot too strong for Contreras. Ugas and Contreras, 2 players playing back in their home state, have had big games. Contreras with now 17 points. Ugas has 19. 67-56 the score. Tommies have only made up 1 point here in the second half. Scalia from the free throw line, doing her best to keep the Tommies in this thing. Scalia has 20 points. It's a 9-point game. So the Tommies do cut it to single digits here. Inside of 2 minutes to go, though, and Kansas City's not going to be in any great hurry in anything they do the rest of the way. Contreras finds Ugas, wide open, big bucket for Kansas City. Nice pass from Contreras, and now Ugas with 21 in transition. Langbin fouled. Harrell didn't like the call, but it's going to send Langbin to the free throw line. The 4th foul against Harrell, the 5th against Kansas City. Both teams in the bonus. Let's take another look-see. Ooh. You could understand why Harrell might have had a question there. Langbin to the free throw line. You'll take that if you're St. Thomas. Anytime you can stop the clock, and shoot free throws, you'll do it. 9 points now for Langdon, 72% free throw shooter on the season. Trying to cut it back to single digits. And does. 10 points for Langdon, and Ruth Sin is going to take a timeout to talk defense. 69-60 the score, and for the Tommies, the talk right now with both teams in the bonus is going for a quick steal. If you can't get that, then you're forced to play the foul game. You got to give Kansas City credit, though. Since about that 4-minute mark, once St. Thomas started pressuring and trapping and double teaming, they have handled it very well. They have found open layups for Bennett, open layup UGAS. They came ready for that defensive pressure that St. Thomas has tried to apply here in these later stages. Mention around the Summit League, this isn't the only opener today. North Dakota at Omaha, South Dakota State, great game in Tulsa at Oral Roberts, and South Dakota at Denver. After that, teams get back to action on Saturday. Tommy's hosting North Dakota State, and Kansas City at home against North Dakota. And if they can finish this one off, that's going to be a pleasant bus ride down 35 back home to Kansas City to get ready for North Dakota. This would be a big win for the Roos. Came into the game with a 4-11 record, but have not played like it. See what the Tommies came up with in that timeout. Thomas goes right into the front court, finds Harrell. Harrell's layup was blocked. If you're the Roos, you're looking for an easy shot, but kind of rushed that one. Hill trying to capitalize, and she's fouled. Oof. Hit the ground hard. UGAS didn't like the call, but it is a foul against Thomas. So the 5th foul against Thomas means her afternoon is done with 1:23 to go. That's a tough call if you're Kansas City on that last possession. They thought they had a good look, but they had a lot of shot clock to play with. Almost think you'd trade shot clock for good looks right now. But Thomas to the bench. Her afternoon is done. Fouls out with $1:23 left. But played a very good game in this one. Hill's first is good. 10 points now for Hill. And Hill goes 2 for 2. So a good trip to the free throw line for the Tommies. 11 points for Hill. For Thomas, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, a block, and 2 points. Kind of an old school point guard. UGAS fouled by Scalia. Thomas really one of those more old-fashioned point guards who creates for her teammates and is just really relied upon to be that facilitator. And she did a lot of that today. 7-point game, as close as we've been in a long time, but the Roos marching down to the free throw line. 2 shots coming up for UGAS, who has 21 on the afternoon. Tommies have outscored Kansas City 19-15 here in the 4th quarter. UGAS, big free throw there. And if you're St. Thomas, you claw your way back to within 7. But these free throws from UGAS, huge. 9-point game. UGAS has 23. It's a 71-62 lead. Tommy's down by 9 with 80 seconds to go. Hill. Scalia did well to keep it alive, but throws it right into the hands of UGAS. And things right now for St. Thomas looking very bleak. Closing in on a minute left in the ball game. UGAS. Scalia tried to foul her, lost her. Got it down low for Bennett, who sends it back out for her twin sister. And now Contreras is going to be bumped and fouled by Frenzel. So the Tommies play defense there for 20 seconds and then commit the foul with Frenzel. First foul against the senior out of Pewaukee, Wisconsin. Sends Contreras to the free throw line. Take another look. So Contreras to the line for Kansas City. Misses on her first. Contreras at the free throw line now 3 of 5 on the afternoon. Imani Bennett with 26. UGAS has 23. And Contreras stuck at 17. Misses them both. Best case scenario there for St. Thomas. And a timeout on the floor with the Tommies down by 9. So the Tommies will huddle up. Got as close as 7. That Kansas City lead now back to 9 with 52 seconds to go. Opitchka out with an injury for the Tommies. And Lisa Thomas has fouled out for Kansas City. There you see the Roos looking to snap an 8-game losing streak away from home and came in 1-8 in their first 9 road games this season. So when I say that this would be a big conference season opening win for Kansas City, that is not hyperbole. This would be a huge win for the Roos. And they're in good shape for it with a 9-point lead with 52 seconds to go. And really, it looked for a second there like Kansas City was going to be able to close the book on this one, but those 2 missed free throws keeps the Tommies in this ball game. Hill will send it in for Feuerbach. Tommies need buckets and quick buckets. Hill driving, scoring. Jade Hill marches in, has 13 points, scores, cuts the lead back to 7, and UGAS fouled. So free throws coming up for Kansas City. Scalia called for her 3rd foul. And UGAS on the afternoon, as good of a day as she has had, 7 of 12 from the floor, 23 points, and a couple of boards. She has been perfect from the free throw line, 9 for 9. So if you're Kansas City, you're very comfortable here with UGAS shooting these free throws, but she leaves it short. 3 straight missed free throws now for Kansas City. That has kept St. Thomas comeback dreams alive here in these closing minutes as UGAS goes 1 for 2. 24 points for UGAS. 8-point game. Frenzel driving, found Scalia. 3 out of the corner. Off of the front iron, rebound Harrell, and with that rebound with 28 seconds to go, trailing by 8, and free throws coming up for Kansas City. That path to victory, finding a path here is becoming very difficult if you're St. Thomas. Two free throws coming up for Harrell. First one is good. Harrell 63% on the season. Now 2 of 3 from the free throw line. I mentioned she's kind of done it all. 9 rebounds for Harrell. That leads all rebounders in the game. Goes 1 for 2. It's a 9-point game. Hill driving, kicking, open 3. Scalia. Tommy's still fighting. Big 3 for Scalia. Cuts the Kansas City lead to 6. And UGAS is fouled. Not sure if you're Kansas City, if what you're looking for right there is leaving Scalia that much room to shoot a 3. I mean, that was wide open. A big shot for Scalia. Cuts the lead to 6. Still, though, just 17 seconds to go. And more free throws coming up for UGAS. Scalia, big day, 23 points. Coming off of 21 points last time out against Eastern Michigan. First shot's good for UGAS. 25 points now. This one would make it an 8-point game. And big free throws there for UGAS. 26 points, matches Bennett for game high. Hill in transition, scores off of the window. Tommies keep getting buckets. Hill has 15. Tommies down by 6, 8 seconds left in the game. Contreras fouled in the front court. Free throws coming up for Contreras, who missed her last two. Foul against Frenzel. The Roos 1-8 on the road this season. A chance to close this one out with 8 seconds to go. And Contreras has missed her last three. Give a lot of credit for St. Thomas. They have fought this thing down all 40 minutes. Second shot is good for Contreras. 18 on the game for Contreras. A 7-point lead, 3 seconds to go. It'll be a 3 for Riley Wright. It is no good. And look at that Kansas City bench. Wow. They are fired up. Deanna Jackson-Duras